A little bit about me. I'm actually a recovering attorney with a passion for technology. I've done business development for many, many years. I've been a salesperson. Now I own a company that does CRM success for law firms, and actually I have the fun task of being on the other side and actually hiring attorneys. So I've seen it kind of from every side. But the way I approach CRM is CRM should be about business development. If it's not about money, they're really not interested in it. They're really not interested in it oftentimes anyway, but if you make it about money, you can get them to be more interested in it. It has to be a whole firm project because CRM involves a fundamental change in how you manage key relationships. And it's behavior change for every single person in the firm. You can't do it without the lawyers, by the way, because they're the ones that have to actually use it. CRM is about people, process, and technology. And guess what? When it fails, it's usually not the technology. For the most part, these systems have been around 20 years. They work, especially the ones that are really integrated into sort of the law firm business process. They work. The number one thing the attorneys want to do is fix the mailing and event lists. And if you think about the billable time, $500 an hour, even up to $1,000 an hour, that makes absolute sense. Attorney billable time is incredibly, incredibly valuable. And so it really absolutely makes sense if they're spending a lot of time reviewing lists and looking at blast email communications around who knows who, you're talking tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. It pays for the CRM out of the box. All right, so what it should be client service, information delivery, process automation, cost reduction. And by the way, it's not a project, it's not a year of your life, it's forever. All right, it's a fundamental change and improvement in how we manage the key important relationships in the firm, which ultimately makes it a business development tool, which is a beautiful thing because that's something that the lawyers really care about. You can't do all of these things, right? You can maybe do one, maybe two. So in a perfect world, if you want to be successful with CRM can do 1,000 things. Pick 3. And they're different for every firm, but it should do 3. And when you finish one, you can do another one. Sometimes you have to think less about CRM and more about, hey, we ought to teach the attorneys how to manage, or even their secretaries, how to manage their contacts, because they're not doing that right now. And if they're not doing that, how's this going to work? It always amazed me that there is not a tool within CRM to send email campaigns. I mean, they'll tell you that you can do it, but it's not a really sophisticated tool. When CRM gets rolled out, a lot of times nobody thinks about data quality. And that is the one thing that will kill an implementation is bad data. Because as lawyers, we're incredibly risk averse and detail oriented, and you get the semicolon in the wrong place in the PowerPoint presentation, we are on our iPhone doing something else, right? By definition, if the data is bad, the system is bad, and why would I use it? So you've got to do as much as you can to keep that data clean, and that involves a human being. I don't care how small the firm is, somebody's got to pay attention to the data because 30% of your data goes bad every year. People move, they get married, they get promoted, and they change jobs, and a few of them die. And nobody wants to send the holiday cards to the deceased people. It's just bad form. So it's really important to take care of the data. It's tremendously important. And there's a lot of costs associated with all of these things. You know, there's ongoing training. You don't just do it one time. You've got to do lunch and learns. You've got to do secretary training. You've got to figure out how to integrate new hires and laterals and get them to use it. It's a fundamental improvement and change in how we handle our contacts. All right. So back in the day, it was time and billing. Now it's more email marketing. There's a lot of, let's bring all the email marketing data back in. By the way, wouldn't it be cool if we could put data not only on how many times we sent something and who we sent it to, but whether or not they opened it and read it? You can do that now. One of the systems actually has the ability to take an email campaign, figure out what somebody read, and target new stories to them based on what they read previously, because it now kind of thinks it knows what their interests might be. And it seems to work pretty well. But the beauty of all this is, when you get this information back in, and you're able to track statistics on email campaigns, and you're able to track, business and financial and company information, then you're going to be able to, when you train lawyers, there's good stuff in here for them to look at. When you're training them, they'll be, let's look at one of your clients. Let's look at their financials. Let's look at the law firms they use. Let's look at what they read and what they're subscribed to. It all sort of feeds upon itself. you really have to think about mobile now almost more than you do, just regular web technology. So, IntelliPad just came out with one, Interaction's got one, Coal Valley's, everybody's got pretty much a mobile app, they all have, but they're really focusing on them now, and you should be too, because the attorneys are on the road, they're traveling. The biggest firms that I work with, they are really focused on mobile because the attorneys, they won't take a laptop anywhere. Everything is an iPad or an iPhone, and they're on the road and they're trying to integrate and they're trying to cross-sell. There's a lot of technology being deployed to get experience out via mobile devices. Really, really exciting, interesting stuff going on in the mobile space. All these tools that we buy, all of the Monitor Suite and Advantage type tools and all the CI type stuff, it's great, but it's more important to actually sit down and look at it and talk about what it means and form a strategy based on it. So, get a good report. Don't have to have the greatest report in the world, but get one that is credible right now, and always be open to learning about new tools. But get the data and act on it and have a strategy around it. I think that's the most important thing.